Hello, and welcome back to Shamanism for Our Times. My name is Elliott Rivera, the Urban Shaman. Today's topic is initiation.
What exactly is initiation?
Initiation is when you have decided that you want to follow the path of the Orisha. The steps that go to find your Orisha are one initiation. But the first initiation is called half asiento, or half seated, if you will. And it's the beginning of a journey working with the Orisha. That's when you receive the eleques. Eleques are the collar, which in Spanish, or the beads in English, of the various Orishas. When you are initiated in the first, what I call first phase initiation, you receive the 5 basic beads of the Orishas, or the 5 basic eleques of the Orishas. You receive Elegua, the path opener. You receive Oshun, the river goddess of sweetness. You receive Shango. Shango is the fire god. You receive Obatala. Obatala is the owner of all heads, as we call, chief of the white cloth. And you receive Yemaya. The difference here is that mine, one for Yemaya, is longer because I am a priest of Yemaya.
And what rituals are involved in initiation?
In initiation, I can tell you part of it. Some of them I can't say it all because some of them are secret until you're initiated. But imagine rebirth. This is a form of rebirth. You are shedding your old life and entering into a new life. So one of the things that we do is you are washed with sacred herbs. What we call umiero. Umiero means a mixture of herbs that are sacred into our tradition, and they're mixed with water, and you are bathed with them. That's kind of like what I can say about the initiation process, because again, it's kind of secret up to a certain point. So yeah, you are bathed, and you dress in white. Traditionally, you dress in white for 7 days after your receiving of the eleques. And that's where really your process starts. It comes with receiving your eleques, you're dressed in white. The reason that you're dressed in white is for Obatala, because it shows the purity, but also if it's a rebirth, when you bring a newborn baby home from the hospital, they're usually dressed in white. And it's kind of like, this is part of what I like to believe is the process, that you're dressed in white because you're a newborn.
Can anyone be initiated?
Everyone can be initiated. We believe that everyone has an Orisha. Everyone is born with an Orisha. When you are born and you come out of the womb, the placenta marks your Orisha, I believe. I may not be 100% right, but what I do believe is that once you pass through the placenta, your Orisha is attached to you. Now, a lot of people never know, because again, the whole world doesn't know about Santeria or about the Yoruba tradition. So here in Europe, for example, people find out about the Orishas through, believe it or not, through salsa. That's where a lot of people that I've met got their first interest, because of the music. So to answer your question, can anybody be initiated? Yes, anybody can be initiated. But we always have to find out, will the Orisha accept them? Or I should put it differently. Will the Orisha accept them in my spiritual house? Because my Yemaya might say no to you, but somebody else's Orisha might say yes. So it depends on the spirit of the house or the Orisha of the house. We always have to ask your crown spirit. In my case, we always have to ask Yemaya. And we do that through a simple form of divination, which is four pieces of coconut. And we speak to Yemaya through the coconut, and she responds through the coconut.
In order to be initiated, you have to find a teacher. How do you find a good teacher?
And that's a very good question. Teachers, there are teachers all over the place. You have to go, I believe, that you have to find, first of all, in your heart, what kind of connection do you have with the person that you want to be your teacher? My experience has been, I've had various teachers. My first teacher for my initiation, we had a really good connection in the beginning. So it's about finding out, are you compatible with your teacher or with that person? Knowing that if you are, like for example, if you're friends before you become their student or you become their teacher, you have to realize that the dynamic changes once you're initiated. I mean, you're still friends, of course, but teachers have to kind of step outside a little bit from the regular normal friendship because it's a matter of respect. So how to find a teacher is, well, various ways. It's usually word of mouth. You may know someone who's initiated or who has interest in it, and they may know someone, and you go along with them to either a reading or to a ritual or to a ceremony, whatever the case might be. And then you get to interact, or you see how the teacher, the Santero or Santera, interacts with the people. And that's how you kind of, you get the feeling if that's, is this person right for me? It's not a science. It's not a direct science. It's trial and error.
And once you're initiated, can you become a teacher yourself?
Eventually. Once, first initiation, you're a babe in arms. You're just beginning to walk. During the first initiation, you are learning from your teacher, some of the basic rituals that you can participate in. Because even as an initiant, in the very beginning, just because you have your lekas does not mean that you can go into all of the rituals. Because in order to go into the bigger rituals, you have to be initiated as a priest or priestess. So, during the process of learning, you're picking up information, you're picking up the history, you're picking up how to do certain little rituals. So then when you decide to be initiated as a priest or priestess, that's really where your education really begins, because now you're able to go into the sacred room or the sacred space to see what happens inside an initiation room. Again, it's a process to get there. But once you're there, then your teacher will kind of, like they did with me, take me by the hand and explain to me how things are done. And not only how, because the how is fairly simple. I mean, you see it, it's a matter of practicing it. But the why. That's where there's, I used to know this woman, a Santera, and every other word out of her mouth was why. And it's about gathering the information. Why do we do it this way? Or why do we do it a different way? Rituals that you will learn are, I don't want to say a cookie cutter process, but there is a structure. For example, if you go to Cuba to be initiated, the process is the same as if you go to the United States, because the rituals are basic. And there's very little, if any, variation of those. Okay, maybe the order in which a certain song is sung, even though that should be in a particular order itself. But in general, the rituals are the same. Now, when you're learning all of this, it's really good that you see other houses, other spiritual houses, how they work. And you will notice that all initiation rituals begin and end the same.
And why is there so much secrecy surrounding the rituals and initiation?
That's a really good question. To be honest, it's right now in today's age, so much is out on the internet that it's basically everything is put out there on the internet or in books. So they're kind of really describing the secrets. But I'm going to tell you a little trick about that. No matter how many books you read on Santeria, they will tell you all kinds of recipes and all kinds of rituals, but they always leave something out. They leave the secret ingredient out. Why is that? Because you are here to learn, and the process of learning and the process of sharing information has to be guarded. Because if not, you can run into psychic problems, what I like to call psychic problems. You don't give everything out at once. It's slowly but surely that you get the information. And yeah, it's secret because looking back to the period of slavery in the Americas, where the Yorubas were practicing, it was all underground. In the United States, it didn't really come out until, I forgot when the Supreme Court passed the rule, but I think it was in 91 or 92, or maybe I might be off, don't quote me on the date, but I know the Supreme Court recognized Santeria for the rituals that they had to do. So you were no longer prosecuted. You still are, but not as severely as before. So that's why it has been kept secret. It's part of, I think it's part of the charm. That you have something a little that nobody else knows. And you just work with that. And it's your little, when you bake a cake, that somebody's given you a recipe, they may have left one little ingredient out so that it doesn't taste exactly like them. So it's the same thing within Santeria. The secrets are to safeguard the tradition.
And how do you know which Orisha is your Orisha?
Okay, good question also. A good teacher can look at you and say, you might be a child of Obatala, or you might be a child of Yemaya, or any of the many Orishas that we speak about. But just looking at you and saying you are a child of Obatala does not make it so. There is a process. There are two ways of finding out. There's one where the Santero or Santera will bring down the Orisha, their Orisha, meaning that they will bring the vessel, the tureen, that holds the mysteries of their Orisha. They will bring it down onto a straw mat. Excuse me. And then they begin a process of divination. And it's a little mini ritual that has to be done. Usually they have what's called an oriate or an italero, which is a specialist that will speak to the Orisha, with the Orisha, using that Orisha's shells. They cast the shells and they will ask the Orisha, do you accept you as a child of Obatala? And then Obatala says no. So then they go to, are you a child of Elegua? No. They go down the line until they say, you are a child of Shango, let's say, for example. That's one way. The other way is through a priest of Ifa. Ifa is where the Babalaos have learned. It's the study, the in-depth study of Orunmila. Orunmila is the deity of divination. He is what I like to call the all-knowing, the all-seeing. He is the one that has the magic, if you will, the mysteries of the tradition and all of the healing of the tradition. So there's a ritual that's called receiving your mano de orula or akofaba, where it's a 2-day ritual, 3-day ritual with minimum of three babalaos. Babalaos are high priests in our tradition. They will do the rituals, and there comes a point where they begin to ask the oracle, are you a child of, let's say, Elegua? And it's right or left hand. And there's an oracle in each hand that says either yes or no. If it comes up no on the negative side or the no side, they keep asking until the right one comes up. However, normally, what has happened with me as a teacher, I sometimes like to think that I have a good insight and a good feeling of who you might be, whose child you might be. So when I go into the room with the student or my godchild, with the Babalaos, their Babalaos will ask me, who do you think is the right Orisha? So I will say, Yemaya. So they do the little ritual there to ask. And then the student or the godchild opens up the appropriate hand. And if it's Yemaya, the shell or the positive stone comes out. So those are 2 ways to find out who your Orisha are. You know, we are all, when we're born, we are all children of Obatala. Obatala is responsible for making the human form. So we are automatically children of Obatala up until the time that we decide to find out who is our crowning or head Orisha.